Pictures that you've been Hello, everybody. My name is Jason Smith. I'm here with
Asher Smith,
who is my son, and we are in the Seeker Aspirant Victim Studios, and we're announcing something coming up. Probably might not even be on my personal channel. Well, it's not going to be on this channel, but it'll be a new channel that we're creating.
It's called Seeker Aspirant Victim. We're in Shades of Intimacy Studios.
I believe we are, yeah. And
the idea is, so there is a set of books. There's that have come out called the Enlightenment Trilogy. Yeah. The Enlightenment Trilogy, and then there's more by this author named Jed McKenna, and he is I guess.
I love that you almost called him a spiritual teacher.
I was about to say would be classified as a spiritual teacher.
Yeah, he would laugh at that.
But he would laugh at it. But that's the only way I can describe it. So he's an author who's written these books, and we both have just consumed the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Like over the last, since I was 16 or 17 since I got that book. Yeah, so we have, I mean, we're going to be, what the plan here is to go through each book. We'll start with the first book, which is Spiritual Enlightenment.
Here's some fun. Here's here's the third book. This is what's left of it. And you can just kind of see that every page has marks on it. And so I think we should start off with something fun. Okay. So this will be a new channel. This will be a new thing. But Jed introduced me to an idea. Actually, you know who introduced me to it? Was your mom. But she didn't call it this. But Jed calls it bibliomancy.
No, that's fun.
Okay? So bibliomancy is a way of kind of talking to the universe. And what you do is you just kind of do this randomly with the book, and then you put your finger in, and basically you set an intention and ask a question.
Yeah.
It sounds like kind of a fun game, but damn, it actually works, and it really sparks some incredible conversations. Now, we'll be reading these front to back, but yeah. I think it would be cool to open
each episode with like a bibliomancy.
I was going to say this one right now.
Oh, let's do it right now.
Right, like so the intention is that Asher and I are going to do a channel. And it'll probably launch in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
It'll probably be something we do almost every Thursday night.
Yes.
That's what we're looking at. And we're going to sit and we'll read the books and we'll discuss. We'll read the books and discuss, and we'll invite you to come on live, and we'll schedule it every Thursday, and we'll get to know each other really well. And anyways, in the books, he talks about bibliomancy. So let's do one to start us off. Our intention is to do this show, to go through this. And Jed's material is so challenging, isn't it?
It's dense. It's challenging and dense.
Now, before I scare you away, let me stop right there. It's also so fucking entertaining.
Yeah, well, that's what the trick. He uses the method of entertaining writing to convey all of the important, challenging shit that if he just wrote in a book, people would say, this is too much.
And he references
he's smart about it.
Yeah, and he references a lot of other writers, and you can go and check them out. Like Bernadette Roberts, who is a Catholic nun contemplative, and they actually kind of agree on a lot of stuff. Yuji Krishnamurti, and I've gone and checked these guys out, girl out, and they're super boring. No offense, Yuji. No offense, Bernadette. Just super boring. And Jed makes it a lot of fun, and we'll have a lot of fun with it. But it is very dense. It's repeatable, and it's a new take on spirituality that is really it's totally different than anything you've heard.
Part of it's so dense, and it's based on spirituality. But here's it's so dense that you can't just read it once. Like, we have both read this book countless times, over five for me, 5+ times. Like obsessively. I went through a period in my life where I was just obsessively consuming them.
Yeah.
But we both have realized, both of us have done this separately. And the idea is that we've had discussions and stuff and talks, but we've not sat down together and gone through step by step and pinned down. Like, I want to get specific with it. This is I'm not in any rush. This is, there's no.
This could easily take a year or two.
It could take as long as it wants.
Yeah, right.
But the point is to go through and to tear it apart, because he has so many things that when we read them, that connects is true. But then the issue is then putting that, understanding it enough to apply it into your life, and just doing that on your own is like the process you're supposed to do. And we think that two brains are better than one in this situation.
And Jed, hi out there. I know you're watching. I know that we have just broken your cardinal rule of fuck everyone else. It's a solo job. It's you alone and no one else fucking matters.
Yeah.
And maybe you're right. And maybe we are literally jerking off and just distracting ourselves with this project. But let me tell you some context of where we are. And this will make sense to a lot of people once they get through into the project, that there's this huge shift that happens when you start first read Jed.
Yes.
It's just a massive, just a shakeup of your worldview. I mean, not to be funny, but do you remember the scene, spoilers, when Neo wakes up out of the fucking pod? Like, and he's like, nothing is what I thought it was. And these books have those effect, right? And it lays out a paradigm of 3 states that you can be in. 1, the enlightened state, and we'll get very clear on defining that. 2, something called human adulthood.
Yes.
And 3, human childhood. And they all have very specific, segregated, integrated states. It's all going to make sense. And so my world has unfolded and changed to a huge degree because of this. But I'm at this point, and if Jed's listening, and I know he is, do you remember when Julie was writing in the second book and she's writing everything to Jed?
Yes.
And he says, that's helpful.
Yeah.
So fuck it, Jed, I'm talking to you the whole fucking time here.
We should just talk to him.
I'm going to talk to you. Well, and everyone else who talks to it, but I will pointedly talk to him and assume he's like Julie says, I'm assuming you're hanging on every word I'm saying.
Yeah.
She writes that, and then he's not, but that doesn't matter.
So,
okay. But here's the deal. I kind of hit a plateau. And it's between, for me, the states of human childhood and human adulthood. And this is my son. I mean, I've introduced my son to this, and we've both gone through this together. And there is a degree of a plateau. So either we're totally mind fucking ourselves and distracting ourselves so we can stay stupid for a couple more decades, or we're each other's key, and this process is our key.
Yes. To
unlock the next door for us. And we're aware that we could be lying to ourselves. But at this point in time, there's been a plateau, hasn't there?
There has. And based on the principles that he explains in his book, we would maybe not do something like this, but it has just been building. And I just, at this point, I don't care, actually. I just think of it this way, sir. I wanted to say this. In his book, when he's talking to Lisa, and I think it's in the 3rd book, he says something about how you were going to have to tear apart all of your teachers. And then he says, even me, at some point. And he kind of skips over that. Like he just says it really quickly. But that's what this is for us a little bit.
Yeah.
And does that make sense? We are questioning him. We're going to pull up every fucking sentence and say, he said this here. And then over here in this 3rd book, he said something else. And those contextually, what the fuck did he mean by that? Did we understand what he said correctly?
Yeah.
Every single thing in here, it needs to be like questioning and drilling on Jed. Be like, what the fuck did he mean by that? Because he says that he wrote in the 2nd book, when he's talking about the 1st book, he's talking about how it is complete to the ideas that he wanted and everything.
But he also says that there were like 15 versions over 10 years before he even got there.
Yeah.
Okay. And that he said, we did it. Remember, he's talking with Curtis.
Says,
and Curtis is all, who the fuck are you talking about? Are you the queen? And he goes, no, there was a team.
Yeah.
So Jed had a team of people too. But here's another thing to think about. Like he says somewhere, and this is useful, it's like he's really strong on writing. Write shit down. He says, because the worst place to do fucking thinking is in your head.
Yeah.
Right. And even though Brett does all of her thinking in the 3rd book, in her head, for Jed, it was like, write it out so you can challenge your thinking. So I'm going to submit that there was a period of time for both of us that thinking and writing process has become incestuous in our own heads. And right now, we're going to take the step of putting it outside to each other and letting each other challenge it. Because I think that's like my thinking. The worst place to do my thinking is solo. Like, so I don't want to say in any way, shape, or form that I need Jed. He's not my guru. Fuck you, Jed. We got to figure this out for ourselves. I'm not looking for you to answer my questions, and you're not looking to me to be your guru, anything like that. We're going to do our own thinking, but we're going to use each other as as
just something.
foils of challenge to really dig deep. And this is something I just read in the second book, because that's where I currently am, right? And he says to Julie that he recommends that she reads the Marquis de Sade, and that she eats energy bars. You remember those?
Yes, yes.
And he said it really is helpful for her to have me here. And I was like, fuck you, Jed. Fuck you, because you say, I don't want any, you don't need me, you don't need me. Bullshit. Julie actually did benefit from having you. I don't want to make you my guru. I don't want to worship you. I'm not buying you a house. Go fuck off. But, dude, I bet you if you and I had a fucking conversation for an hour and I was telling you about some of the ways I see this, you'd go, oh, dude, you slightly misunderstood this. Do this. And that would unlock the fucking door for me.
Exactly. Here's the thing.
I'm going to get heated in this fucking conversation.
It should be, though. What he assesses, what he pushes forward in this is he pushes forward the idea of that you can do it all by yourself. You can personally develop. So you don't need other people. You just need to think for yourself. But then he also says in that thinking for yourselves that will bring you to consuming an enormous amount of outside data and all this stuff. So there's all these things that he says that are almost contradictory, and both of us are just like, or at least I am. I'm just sick of that shit. I want to get it out. I want to get it written out, and I have a list of his fucking. I want to build a terminology. He uses an entirely new dictionary of terms and phrases that our current society doesn't actually have words for.
Yeah.
And it's really important for us to fucking pin this down.
And that's
what I want.
Yeah.
I need it to be less amalgamous in my head data. This needs to be hard, bam, written. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that he's saying, once I shake it out, right? He was talking to a culture of spirituality where you find a guru, literally in the Eastern religion, you find a guru, you pretty much give them everything you own, and you follow him or her no matter what for years, right? So there's a culture of this dependence. I've read some Eastern books, and it's like the only way to enlightenment, and we'll discuss what the fuck that even means, but the only way to growth is through a master. You have to have a master. And Jed is rightfully telling you that that is not true.
So maybe he's just addressing that.
That's what he's addressing. Do you need teachers? Do you need experiences? Do you need a bird to shit on you at the exact right time? Maybe. Yes, you do. Yeah. And the lessons will come, and you don't have any choice of how they come or what they appear, but there'll be keys to unlock your doors. And some, he said, you have to create.
Yeah.
So I got the line, it's read. So this is our version of creating that without we're in no way, obviously, dependent on this guy.
Yes, we didn't do the bibliomancy.
We're going to, though. Okay, so I'm going to flip the book. He's going to put his finger in, and we're going to read it. We'll see what it is.
The idea of this, I just want to comment on real quick, is that this is similar to the concept of tarot cards, where the idea is you have a collection, it's got a framing to it or whatever. It's got a container of the book in this sense. In the cards, it's the 72 cards exactly. You have this array of possibilities. You hold an intention. You reach to the universe into randomness, chaos, with your intention, and the universe will answer your intention from the chaos with what you need. That is the theory, if I had to put it into words. So bibliomancy is just doing that with a book.
And to give them a hint, we will discuss bibliomancy in the first chapter of the first book with Sarah.
Yeah, he mentions it immediately.
Immediately. In fact, he does it for you. That's a fun little process. It's invigorating in the mind. It doesn't in any way replace thinking. I got to tell you a funny story before we do this, right? So I've been digging through all my old shit, and I found my old scriptures, LDS scriptures.
I did too.
From the Mormons and the Doctrine and Covenants and Book of Mormon, right? Okay. And so we have some friends here, and just for the fuck of it, because we talked about bibliomancy a lot, we always do it. Let's do this. And dude, I just got mindlessly stupid fucking quotes from the Book of Mormon, and they were just,
yeah.
And it was just interesting, and
I've never done that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if there was such a skepticism in me for those that I didn't get good results.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. There we go. Which side?
This one.
Okay. So here we go on our journey to this live channel. I'll read. Once leveled off, we walk and talk for a few minutes, circling around the edges of tricky subjects, which we'll be doing a lot of. The problem with talking to Bob has been that we don't have a workable dynamic. If we were student teacher, that would be fine because I could muscle him around a bit and he would know to not resist too much. As it is, he wants to think we're having a peer-to-peer dialogue, which leaves me in a bit of confusion as to what to say and why to say it.
Because he's not an equal.
Yeah, and so so that brings up the question: how are we going to speak to the people who end up watching these?
Yeah,
I mean, clearly they're not equal to us. We're the teachers. We read the books. We'll get a lot of people watching who've read the books. I'm sure they'll be interested and they'll put a lot of comments.
that's what I want. I want open debate and discussion. But the thing is that I think that we establish ourselves as fellow seekers, aspirants, victims, but I guess, and not teachers. Just here's the thing: we just know. We have read these.
Yeah.
And we're not even saying like the difference. Some people will be like, I'm a spiritual master over spirituality. It's such a wide.
So
framing.
did you?
I'm not saying
so
that. I'm saying we have specific knowledge of this fucking book series.
So when I started that
paragraph,
that's
paragraph, our knowledge.
Yeah. When I started that paragraph, did you know it was the Talk with Bob before I mentioned Bob's name?
It was the top. He's the guy trying to publish a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you knew it. Yeah. So I knew it.
Yes, we can just.
We've read it enough times.
This is how much we know this.
Because Bob's an obscure character.
Yeah. So
barely in the book.
Yeah. The way we're going to talk to people is as people who are at least have experience with this. We talked about this. Remember, I said some of the times when you get wanting to do something and you're like, oh well, but I don't know about it. Well, this is something we know about.
Yeah.
We have a knowledge base to be able to generate, to be able to help us better process this content.
And the irony is, we actually know very little.
That's the joke.
Yeah. The joke on the side is that we're gonna shrug on a lot of this.
Yeah. The joke is that it's gonna there's mostly it's information you don't know.
I'm gonna say I think the paradigm gap that we have with Jed is obviously he's not here to muscle us around, which would be good.
Yeah.
Right. So if we were talking, but and this will make sense soon. This will make sense soon as we start the program. As an enlightened person, I think that the human adulthood piece is theory for him.
It is.
And that's why he's
not even that though. That's why.
That's what I mean. So that's why I think that if we learn something out of this and are able to turn some keys for each other in our lives, it's always been my thought, and I'm wired this way, and I guess Jed is too, to write about it and talk about it and perhaps even help clarify the situation for other people.
Yes.
I think it would be useful to help people move from human childhood to human adulthood.
Yeah.
I certainly want to discover if that human adulthood idea that resonates so strongly with me is indeed achievable. And to a lot of degrees it has been. I mean, we're weird people already. We're an integrated.
I was going to say that that's a good point. Is that we have multiple. In general, we talked about this before this started. I'm not doing this for attention. We're doing this because I have focuses. I have studies. We have things we want to get out of this. We're doing this for the sake of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot what I was going to say, so I feel like a doofus.
So that'll happen too.
Amen.
But luckily, when we meet with you again in a couple of weeks and we start with the first book, in fact, why don't we tell everyone to go get the first book? You remember, get on it.
Part of our, if you're we might want to create some kind of mission statement for this to write it down just a little bit so that it can be guiding this project to some degree. It doesn't have to be extensive because there's only a few things, but one of the main ones, or something for me, is that part of the goal of this is a personal goal. How about that? For me to better understand and even scholastically, scholarly record and try to put together this theory that he is talking. Like he's saying in theory because he has gone through a spiritual process that also then if he hadn't gone all the way, would involve all of these other things. And so then he's like looking back saying, this is all the stuff you guys really want, but he's also looking back. And so in that, we're behind that. We're in front. We haven't gone through this stuff. So we just want to connect these two things. What he's saying, looking at human adulthood and saying what he thinks it is, and then what we're saying, what he's thinking, compared with our experiences, and then, do the math on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And this will make a lot more sense because we're going to really get strongly into the 3 definitions of human adulthood, human
Exactly.
childhood.
From this, I want a working terminology list of words as we understand it within the framing of this.
Yeah. And it's funny because I in the work that I do, and I have a lot of friends throw the term enlightenment around, and it's interesting because they don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about.
I know when somebody says it, and after you've read Jed's books, they're like, oh, I just know what you are now.
Yeah. And I was over at your house to help feed the cats, and I saw how to read a book on
I got that from him.
and both of us read it. And so there's a degree of focus and intelligence and sharpness that we're going to bring to things. And so as he said, there will be no toleration for flabby terminology.
No.
And that's changed my life. I was thinking today, I'll give you an example. Someone, a friend of mine, was saying, you've got to honor so-and-so. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, what does it mean?
Like, really, what does honor mean? Now everyone goes, well, you know what honor means, honor someone. And I was like, no, fuck it. I got my phone out, and I look in the phone, I'm starting to, and I tore the word apart. And I was like, oh, that's what it means.
That's what I want to do. A lot of that.
Yeah. And so, like, I dare say I could honor you better than you could honor me because I know what the fucking word means in this context, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And we'll be doing things like that, and we'll have a lot of fun with it. And we'll keep it light, we'll keep it fun, but there'll probably be some emotional moments. And
well, naturally, because of our father-son dynamic, there will be. But that's part of.
Yeah.
This is really serious. I don't know. This is just very serious stuff. It's not like, this isn't just like fun theory that, it's, if you take it seriously, which I do, then this is like core life stuff. There's true, the most essence of value of what I could get from something in my life I feel is in these books. And so it's just really, we're going to take it seriously. I'm going to take it seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it'll end up being, that could be really hard sometimes.
Yeah. And, one of the things about this journey is that I think, like Jed, we're going to have a sense of humor about the whole thing. But there's also this degree, like, what is true? What do you know? And, like, you better fucking figure this shit out. And we're going to take that seriously. And we're going to show you what we've concluded this far in the journey, and then invite you to be part of that and to learn from it or grow with it, and so forth and so on. And so I just, let's start. We'll open the episodes. It'll be fun. I'll tell you how I got into the books. It's a great story. And then, but as a kid, you're 16 years old, right? I mean, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, right? We left the Mormon church and I handed them these books, but just your first impression, like, why did this not bore you and just set you off? Like, you're a weird kid. And you're 24 now, right? So this is
25
25. So 9 fucking years of reading these books. And pretty obsessively at times.
Yeah. I think for the 16-year-old me, in high school, I had a disillusioned, pessimistic attitude of of an angsty teenager. And Jed, one of his big thing is on talking is kind of about disillusionment. It's about cutting through the bull of what is bullshit and what's not. And he has a very attitude where he just says it and like it's right and he moves on. And a lot of people get offended with his arrogant attitude. But that attitude for me just connected. Like everything he said, I'm like, I felt that all my life. I thought I have felt that. Like I thought that already. So it was like when I was reading the book first time when I was 16, it was like, this guy's just saying everything I already know.
Yeah. It's funny.
in like a good way. This is ringing. It was just, I guess the term is it resonated incredibly with his cutting through bullshit.
And I love the way you're getting intense. In the second book, Curtis comes up to him and he says, "Hey, you got critics."
Yeah.
You got critics. And he's all like, yeah. What? And he goes, "Tell me, what is it? Anything useful?" And he goes, "Some people say you're arrogant." And he's like, yeah. Let's go on. It's like, and it's funny. We have people in our lives who've read the books, and boy, they are hung up on Jed's arrogance.
They're hung up on his arrogance and attitude. And for some reason, for us, we both love it. So it's not.
I would never call him arrogant.
No, I would have just said he's accurate.
I mean, he's pretty humble about it too. He's like, and I mean, there's a part he goes, "By the way, hey man, if I'm totally wrong, then I'm the one with egg on my face, and I'll be the one first in line begging Jesus to get back in heaven, and that'll be fucked, right? That'll be the way it is." I mean, that's kind of self-deprecating humor. I mean,
well, and he puts in so many fucking disclaimers about how, like, just to think for yourself. If you disagree with him, come do the math yourself. That's what his thing is. I think that's another reason why I felt like I didn't feel like there was a level of bullshit where I was like, okay, but what's under that way? What's under that way? Like, oh, in the end, he was like, "This is what I think," and I was like, holy, I connect with all of that. And he's like, "But if you need to do that math yourself." And that comes with everything that he says.
Everything.
It's not a matter of like, do this and just believe me. It's not that attitude in any way. It's this way, and you can do the math. I did the math from here to here. And you just gotta fucking do it.
And here's something. And there's a scene. I think it's in this book when he's in the horse ring with Brett, and some lady comes up, and he talks to her, and he says something really interesting, and it's so true. He's all like, "Oh, you misunderstand. You think I'm trying to convince you of something. That I care whether you follow me."
Exactly.
I don't.
It was,
he just fucking.
It was that attitude that has drawn me to it.
And that was the attitude. He doesn't give a fuck whether you follow or not. He just doesn't care. He doesn't. I mean, you bought his books, good. He got a buck a book out of it, probably. And that's it. He doesn't give a shit. Yeah. And so much of the stuff he says is controversial, and he doesn't want you to follow him. So
he doesn't have any kind of social media following.
So when people say he's arrogant,
Twitter account,
there's nothing.
There's no. So he doesn't have, his actions prove their claims of arrogance incorrect in that he follows through with what he says. He does not have a public profile. We can't find him right now. I don't know where funny. He is. He could be dead right now. We have no fucking idea. But books keep coming out, but that's all we know.
But the funny thing is this is going to happen to anybody. When you get sure about something and you've done the math and you've done the work, and I'm your father, right? I've said this to you thousands of times. This is the way it is. And, parents say that shit because they've been through it, right? But sometimes it comes off as arrogant.
Yeah.
And I think it's a childish behavior to use that as a screen to investigating what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like, oh, well, he's just so arrogant. Like, I just don't want to I don't want to get talked down to or something. It's like, what are you? That you're missing the whole fucking point of this is to be, drop your fucking ego and consume the knowledge and understanding. That's the point.
Yeah, and try it on, see if it's useful to you in the end,
Yeah, and just, I don't know. I guess we are going to get critics. We are going to there's going to be feedback. If someone consumes this, if somebody consumes it and says, oh, the way they just understood that word or defined it and said it is incorrect and they want to tell us about it. Like, I'm kind of excited for some of that interaction because some of that might be useful. Not all of it. Because there's a lot of people who just are going to have a different opinion. So they're going to say what they think and bam, and then, you see what I'm saying? So I'm ready for that. Because it's going to be us doing this, but also if anybody watches this, if anybody pays attention and knows what the fuck we're talking about within this, hopefully we get some other ideas and stuff too. I don't know. Maybe you don't want other ideas.
I don't have a problem with that. I know a couple of friends that.
That's kind of the point, though. We're doing it in public on purpose,
Yeah, there is a public nature to it, but it's also a private nature, right? We're going to be sitting in this room. We'll read pieces. We'll talk about it. We're going to read the whole thing from top to front to the fucking bottom.
Yes.
And then we'll just discuss and tear shit apart, and we'll pop a lot of notes in the bottom of the thing. And I guess it would be a good idea to suggest everybody go and buy, the first book probably, or they don't have to, but
It's called Spiritual Enlightenment, the Damnedest Thing.
The Damnedest Thing. And it's called, we call it Damnedest for short. And the second one we call Incorrect for short.
It's incorrect.
Spiritually Incorrect Enlightenment.
And then the third one is called Spiritual Warfare.
Yeah. And so we call that Warfare for short.
And
we're at 30 minutes. So we're going to wrap this up. And in about 2 weeks, we're going to sit down. We'll tell the stories of how I got the book, and we'll dive right into the first chapter.
Yes.
And we're excited that you're coming along for us. And I mean, you may read this, you may watch this 30 years after we print it. It could be on, YouTube for centuries, right?
Yeah, with the internet being what it is, this data will exist. So if in 100, 300 years somebody reads this and it's relevant, and then they want to look up other data around it, and we pop up in 300 years, sweet. Maybe, hopefully, we're useful.
But the way we are going to do it is going to be live.
Yes. Yes.
Kind of creates an energy that we'd like to.
Yeah, live, and there'll be clips from the live streams, but this is the way to do it.
Okay, everybody. Again, we're excited about this, and we will see you in a couple weeks. What's the date we got? It's 2/22.
So it'll be the first Thursday of March, the 7th.
Okay, we got a launch date. March 7th, 2019.
Yes.
Okay, everybody. We will see you then.